a good way to start. Look back at some of the best games from 2025 that helped set the table as the 272-game 2026 schedule set to be released in full in just a couple hours. The season will begin on September 9th, a mere 118 days away for anyone counting. I am. It'll feature a record 9 international games. Yeah, Dan, let's get right to it. What's a non-divisional matchup that has you most excited?
Feels like the offseason just started. I am going. Thanksgiving slate kickoff is remarkable. The Packers and the Rams. The Rams should be heavy favorites to win a Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford coming off of the MVP season. And the Packers, does Micah Parsons, is this the moment when he starts to finally recover from the ACL injury? This is when, at a point in the season, teams try to really start to declare who they are and what their playoff run is going to be. I think this game is going to matter very much so for who the 1 seed could be in the NFC playoffs.
I don't know when this game is going to be played yet, but I'm intrigued by both of these squads. Neither one of them made the playoffs a year ago, and both quarterbacks are looking to come back with a fervor and show that they are the dude in the AFC. Burrow's been out, no postseason for 3 years. Mahomes, 1 year, coming back from the ACL. But I'm wondering if this game is late in the season, playoffs on the line, Bengals versus Chiefs. Once upon a time, just so recently ago, this was a big rivalry in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm going with the Detroit Lions against the Buffalo Bills. The big thing for Josh Allen last season is where are the weapons? We know Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. This is a big matchup. We saw the Detroit Lions have a bit of a regression after they lost both coordinators. For the Buffalo Bills, they have DJ Moore now. They have Skylar Bell that they got in the draft, as well as Khalil Shakir. With these weapons on the outside, they have a really good receiving core. So what would Josh Allen look like with a brand new coaching staff and brand new weapons on the outside?
So glad you're with us today. It's a big day here. We've got NFL Live, but then at 8 Eastern, we are coming your way on ESPN to release the NFL schedule in full for 2026. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Hawk, Peter, Dan, Kyle Brandt will join us. Adam Schefter is with us. We've got some great guests tonight, including Joe Buck, to talk through Monday Night Football. But let's get to some top scheduling stories as Adam Schefter does jump in here. What's up, Shefty? The week of Thanksgiving is shaping up to be an all-timer. What do we know at this point?
Well, it's a veritable feast right around Thanksgiving, and it gets underway the night before Thanksgiving, the first ever Wednesday night pre-Thanksgiving game between the Packers and the Rams. Figures to be a great matchup here between these two teams. And again, just the timing of it, kicking off what should be a huge Thanksgiving Day games leading into the next day of all that activity, which the first game that day will be the Chicago Bears once again at the Detroit Lions. It feels like the Bears play here almost every year. I think they played there the last 2 years. This will be the third straight year. The Bears are in Detroit on Thanksgiving Day. Caleb Williams gets another chance to try to win another game in Detroit as the Lions continue to try to stave off the surging Chicago Bears. And of course, then that game will be followed up by another Eagles-Cowboys game in Dallas. If anybody's looking for an excuse not to spend time with their family, this slate of games gives you the reason to do it, especially an Eagles-Cowboys matchup that'll be one of the higher-rated games of the season in Dallas. Thanksgiving Day, there are some major Thanksgiving Day matchups coming.
Yeah, that's already excellent, and we're still waiting on the 8 p.m. game and the Black Friday game, so it will get even better later on tonight, 8 p.m. again. That's when we find it all out. Thanks to Adam, you're with us for the rest of the time and tonight. Oh, my goodness, we got to go.
Already?
We got a
We're
turkey.
there already.
All right.
Hey, we're doing gobbling turkeys?
That's a little weird. The Lions and Bears will play on Thanksgiving for the 21st time, with the Bears leading the Turkey Day series 11-9. Only the Lions and Packers have played more often on Thanksgiving, and Detroit won the last Thanksgiving matchup between these teams just 2 seasons ago after Chicago won the previous 3 from 2018 to 2021. Let's start on the Bears side of the ball, Dan. This is fun because we actually get to talk a little bit of ball that kind of matters in a while from now, right? What needs to happen for Caleb Williams to take the next step?
Well, the immediate thought is, can Chicago and Ben Johnson get him from those splashy and savior type of plays and being reliant on them, which are great and amazing, to a little bit more of the steady and surgical? I think that's the first place my thought goes to. But then Hawk, Peter, and Laura, I'm like, is that a need? You know, because I grew up in the era with this offense that, like, you do want that steady, you do want that surgical style of quarterback, but you also don't want these type of plays to go away.
No, that was...
And I think that's the challenge in Chicago is you definitely want more consistently the completion percentage, all that stuff. but I also don't want to make him a lesser player. I don't know what the exact balance for Chicago with that is going to be.
I hope it's not check down Caleb. That's not what I'm looking for.
But you need something.
He is the reason why they drafted him first overall was for the splash. 100%. He's got to bring up the other. I look at year 3 for Caleb Williams. To your point, what's the next step? Because you go through it. Year 1 was almost like a write-off, and they got rid of the entire coaching staff and the offensive voices in his ear, and they tried number 2, and then Declan Doyle's not there anymore, who was a very key piece. Look at these 2 other quarterbacks who made this similar progression from year 1, year 2 to year number 3. I thought this was really good, and I asked Ben, our researcher / producer, to put this together. Josh Allen, year 1, 5-6, year 2, 10-6, year 3 was like, I'm here, number 2 in the MVP voting. Jalen Hurts, 1-3, then 8-7, then 14-1. We're going to the Super Bowl. Caleb Williams, very similar, 5-12, then a big bounce. We made the playoffs. We feel good. Is he going to be able to take them, the Chicago Bears, to that next step? Is he going to be in the MVP conversation? The sky is the limit, and I think that is the expectation.
I think the thing that stands out with those 2 players, though, is they chased the consistency.
Yes.
They did. Josh made the commitment to get more consistent. Jalen became one of the most improved passers of football I think I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Can Caleb take that kind of step?
Yeah, I think the same thing that was a beneficiary for Caleb and Ben Johnson is what the Detroit Lions are still searching for. Because when they lost Ben Johnson a year ago, that offense lost a lot of cohesion, it lost a lot of detail, it lost a lot of creativity that the Detroit Lions had thrived on. So now, with the new OC, Dan Campbell took over last year because they were having such issues. But now with the new OC and Drew Petzing, that's what they're looking for. So they'll go against this Bears team with the hope that they'll be able to show an offense that is not the regressive offense that we saw last year, but one that takes advantage of all the weapons that they have, from Goff to Amon-Ra to J-Mo to Gibbs to Pacheco in the lineup now. So I think that's the biggest thing for the Lions. Can they get back to that stature?
The offensive line for me. I mean, that was
revamped.
3 years ago. It was the unstoppable force. That's why Dan Campbell would go for it on 4th down all the time, because he could dominate the game. Who's going to be playing left tackle? Taylor Decker no longer there. They drafted Blake Miller in the first round out of Clemson. Is he going to step in at right tackle? That's the big question mark. I agree with the offensive scheme for sure, but I don't care if it's Bill Walsh. If the offensive line doesn't get better, that team's not going to look like it had for the past 2 or 3 seasons before last year.
You know, yesterday on this show, Lewis and Booger were bringing up, Peter, that maybe this team lost its way even just from like the toughness and grittiness factor last year a little bit. Did you see that? I mean, this has been a team that's been kind of built in Dan Campbell. Right, exactly.
And last year it wasn't it was kind of like, So I look at Drew Petzing is so fascinating to me. This is a guy who is the Arizona Cardinals offensive coordinator. They interviewed Mike McDaniel. They interviewed Zach Robinson. They interviewed Mike Kafka. Like, they went with the big name interviews, and then they hired Drew Petzing, who is not a household name. I will tell you this. When Drew Petzing got hired by the Cardinals, everyone around the league was like, oh, well, that's the next guy. And he and Kyler are going to be great. The fall from grace wasn't necessarily because of Drew Petzing. Look what that offense was. It was no Kyler last year, and it was other players that weren't necessarily playing to their level. So before Lions fans just say, we threw in the towel on this hire, who's Drew Petzing? I don't even know that name. I would say give it a moment and see what this offense looks like early on in the season, because there could be a nice resurgence for that offense that took a step back last year.
Quickly, I mean, they really couldn't get Marvin Harrison Jr. going in the way that they wanted to. I'm not trying to make this about the Cardinals, but like...
Trey McBride broke every record possible for a tight end, though, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And to your point, I mean, there's so many weapons in Detroit that Drew Petzing comes into probably the best situation of any new play caller, because there's literally talent all over the board.
The thing I would say about Detroit is they are just a very fascinating team to try to win in this window, because Jameer's going to get paid. They're going to have to pay Laporta at some point. Brian Branch. We'll see what they do with Jack Campbell. Jared Goff's going to want...
Would you say the window closed, Dan?
The window didn't close, but this is an important year for like this rebuild of Detroit to capitalize on some of those really early cheap draft picks.
And just back to the schedule piece of all of it, the Lions 1-4 on Thanksgiving under Dan Campbell. We'll see if they can change that. Niners and the Rams opening the season in Australia. Sean McVay talked travel plans on the Up and Adams podcast.
Who lands first in Melbourne, you or Kyle Shanahan?
Definitely the Niners.
Yeah, they're going when you heard that.
When are they going?
What, like a week early, allegedly.
They'll land before us.
They'll land before. You're just going to scoop in.
So.
You're going to scoop in
we'll
across
see.
the world.
You know what? We haven't totally
That's crazy.
finalized. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
What will you say? You know, did you say it was crazy before London too?
No, you correct. But you were there for like 12 seconds in London.
Correct.
This
we're
feels a
we're
little
like
further.
SEAL Team 6. We're in and out before you know what happened.
Oh, Peter, what do you make of McVay's plans?
Well, it's funny. San Francisco came out right away and we're like, we're going to go 9 days early. We're going to not be thrilled about it. Kyle Shanahan was very clear that this is not ideal for a football team to start the season and have to go 9 days before the season to Australia. But McVay hasn't even spoken about his plans, and I'll speak to him at some point. They have not, in print, done what they're doing yet. I will say this to that interview that he was just on. When they went to London last year, they showed up on Saturday afternoon, played on Sunday, and got the heck out of there. Whereas it looks like San Francisco might be doing a tour of the entire Gold Coast. I don't expect the Rams to be there for as long as that.
By the way, we're going to talk to Sean McVay tonight on our schedule release show, 8 p.m. on ESPN. Maybe we ask him a little bit more about that.
I mean,
that's a tease. Okay, the Ravens and Cowboys head to Brazil for a Week 3 matchup, in a matchup of two teams with tons of changes this offseason. So more on that. The Ravens could have two new starting guards and added Trey Hendrickson and Calais Campbell to their pass rush. The Cowboys also have new faces on defense, highlighted by a pair of first-round picks in Caleb Downs and Malachi Lawrence. Hawk, they did a lot to try to shore up the defense, but with all of that change, which team might need a few weeks to kind of find their groove, get used to everything?
Yeah, I think it's the Baltimore Ravens. And look, a slow start is relative based on where the ceiling is. I think the Ravens have a higher ceiling than the Dallas Cowboys, but they have a lot more change. It's not just a coaching change philosophy. You were talking about franchise identity being changed when Hall of Fame coach John Harbaugh leaves for the New York Giants. On top of that, their offense, Lamar Jackson being the staple there, like he goes from the best improviser in the game, the best outside of structure, to a new young offensive play caller who is grounded in detail, grounded in structure. It's going to be some ebbs and flows for them to come together as a unit.
Yeah, it's the third straight year the NFL has played a regular season game in Brazil. How about the Bengals and the Falcons heading to Spain for a Week 9 matchup? And after finishing 31st in yards allowed last season, 30th in points, by the way, the Bengals made big changes to their defense. They traded the 10th overall pick to the Giants for defensive lineman Dexter Lawrence. They also added Boye Mafe, Brian Cook, and Kyle Duggar to the defense, since he also used their first two draft picks on defensive players. Dan, I think we see a trend here, but what do all these changes on defense potentially mean for the offense in Cincinnati and the defense as well?
Yeah, count me as one who thinks Cincinnati clear favorite, or one of them in the AFC, to go to the Super Bowl. I think those defensive pieces are huge. This is a brand new defensive line. Four new, potentially 5 new starters. Dexter Lawrence, Jonathan Allen. We'll see if some of their young players can take a step forward. Cash Towell led the SEC in sacks last year. If that defense is okay and that defensive line proves that young secondary that they have, will play a lot better. If that group's a lot better, then that offense will push 30-plus points per game with Joe Burrow hopefully being healthy. Cincinnati absolutely has the chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Man, think about Joe Burrow finally having a healthy offseason at this point, too. He'll actually be able to go through everything that he normally would be. Yes, stay healthy, Joe. Minnesota, by the way, adding Kyler Murray to its quarterback room. The Vikings and 49ers heading down to Mexico in a Week 11 matchup. And this quarterback room, as I said, Kyler Murray, but J.J. McCarthy, Carson Wentz, and Max Brosmer. Last season, those 3 Vikings quarterbacks combined to throw 17 touchdowns and 21 interceptions. Kyler Murray had a better total QBR than each of the returning Minnesota trio, but all 4 had a QBR at least 10 points lower than the league average of 57. Adam, what do we know about the plans at quarterback in Minnesota?
Well, the Vikings are saying for now it is an open quarterback competition, and we'll see how that plays out. But let's keep a few things in mind here. Kyler Murray handpicked Minnesota, and this was an opportunity that he was hoping to have. It came to him. He saw